Hi there, and welcome to another live stream. And I'm just waiting for Richard to join. So that'll be great when he does actually get to be part of this. I might have to just remind him. Yes, I've just got a message from Richard that he can't find the link. So I will have to message him in a second. If everybody can bear with me, I will get the link to him. And yes, we're going to answer some questions. So if you do have questions, then it would be really great to see them in the chat. So I'm just going to, here we go. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to message him now. So he's got the email link, which is great. So he'll be on in a second, entering the studio, and we'll be able to look at your comments and questions. Of course, that will be great. So we've got a 24-hour thing coming up. So we're waiting for the Keto Pro to enter the studio, and I will hopefully be able to get him to answer some questions. Anyway, just in case for people who don't know, on the 9th of July, Sunday the 9th of July, 8 o'clock in the morning here in the UK, we're starting a 24-hour live stream, and we're just getting some guests together to pop in throughout that 24 hours. So it'll be Richard and I will be hosting, and we got the guests. We got Anthony Chafee coming on, and we've got Dr. Avadia and Zaldivar, Sarah Zaldivar, Dr. Lisa, Lily Kane, or quite a few people popping up, so that'll be great. What's the Ukraine colours? I don't know what that's about, by the way. Someone's done a comment there, but let's add Richard to the stream. There is Richard.
How you doing, man?
Hello. Right, I'm just going to get the right thing up so we can get you on. There you go. Excellent.
Perfect. Apologies, I just tried logging in via my laptop, but Holiday in Wi-Fi is proving too slow. So I've just logged in via my phone.
Right. Well, it's good, actually. I was just talking about the 24-hour live stream that we got some guests lined up. And obviously, if you're having trouble connecting, we won't be on for too long. But there was a few questions that people have posted. I'll just post the first one for you. I'm sure, as a science geek, you'll like this one. Thanks for doing a live stream together. The Carnivore diet looks like it's deficient in boron, iodine, and magnesium. Is it optimal to supplement with these, or am I likely wasting my money? Well, and really, do you believe that it's deficient in those things?
Well, this is the reason, or one of the reasons, I think that Paul Saladino went back to putting carbs in, wasn't it? That was one of his excuses, was boron. And that was to do with testosterone, I believe. I may be wrong. This is something I looked at when he decided to go back to the dark side. So I may be slightly incorrect with this. I'll have to go back and look at the research. But when he went carnivore for so long, he noticed testosterone increased initially and then dropped dramatically, I believe. Coming back to a conversation that we had recently, I believe that the body just becomes more sensitive in the same way that it does with insulin. So when we are restricting carbohydrate, our bodies just become more insulin sensitive. So when we put carbohydrate in, insulin reacts much more efficiently in the same way that female hormones do. So a lot of females who will live in keto and carnivore notice that they get a drop in thyroid hormone. But what we see when it comes to thyroid hormone is that the thyroid stimulating hormone also drops, which means the body is increasing thyroid stimulating hormone in order to try to increase thyroid hormone, which means the body's become more efficient. So if we take those two factors and we resign to the fact that the body becomes more efficient and is utilizing these more efficiently, then why not resign to the fact that testosterone, the effect of testosterone, is doing the same? Now, what I have noticed during my journey of being carnivore is I noticed an elevation in testosterone massively initially, and then a crash, which I was concerned about. And that did bring me into the question of whether we need carbohydrate. But what I've found, so I've been carnivore for 4 years, maybe now, my testosterone is back up almost to the top end of the range. So I can't remember the ranges off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's around 28. I think 28.5 or give or take. I may be wrong. Again, it's been a long time since I've looked at my ranges with testosterone because I don't feel the need to. I feel super healthy. I feel energetic. I'm still, until I retired from the bodybuilding side, I was still able to build muscle, which you can't do unless you create testosterone. So I believe, as far as boron goes, I don't think that we need that. I think there's more to it than supplemented with magnesium. I believe that we can get plenty. Again, I think the body becomes more efficient. And iodine, we can get plenty from seafood. I know a lot of carnivores don't, but I do enjoy my seafood. And when I was at the public health collaboration with yourself recently, we had a talk with Dr. Patrick Longford. No, it wasn't Longford. Patrick something. Can you remember his last name?
No.
Yes, Patrick something. No, Patrick looked into the effects. So Patrick is more of a herbivore, I think, isn't he? But he does believe in the necessity of animal proteins, but he gravitates more towards fish, to seafood for DHA and EPA. So serpentinoic, which is an omega-3. He believes that the brain thrives predominantly on DHA over EPA, but omega-3s in general. So he gravitates more into the omega-3 side. Coming from Wales, living on the coast, I'm probably inclined to believe that from geographic perspective. I mean, if our ancestors were living on the coast, it's quite possible we would have been eating and consuming lots of fish. Therefore, lots of iodine. So iodine we can get in plentiful supply. So look, I've been living this way for a long time. Yourself too. I'm not deficient in anything whenever I get my bloods tested. And I generally get them tested every year. Not for personal reasons. It's more to show other people, because people question cholesterol, they question testosterone, they question a few other things. So I don't believe. I think, coming back to a point you made recently, I think it's more of an excuse for Paul to supplement a sugar addiction. But before we move on from that, really quickly, I know because we're going to keep it short today. I don't know if you can see, I've applied a continuous blood glucose monitor. Some interesting readings since I've had it on. Now, one of the things that you and I spoke about was, should we test to see the effect on maybe sort of a low carb or sugar-free product? So if you want to, now this is something that I haven't consumed in a long time, but I've got a Dr. Pepper, which is meant to be sugar-free. So it says it is 0 or 14 grams of carbs, 14, sorry, apologies. So it is 14 grams of carbs. It isn't a sugar-free one. Would you like me to consume some of this to see the impact on my blood glucose?
Well, yeah. What's your baseline, though? We need to start with your baseline right now.
It's on my phone, isn't it? So let me just...
We haven't thought this one through.
2 seconds. So 4.9 currently. But we didn't. It was this was off the cuff. 4.9. So I'm not really looking forward to this. But so should we go ahead with that? Or I've got erythritol, which is meant to be completely sugar-free. Obviously, it's a polyol that the body doesn't absorb. I've got a tub of erythritol there that I can spoon some in if you wanted me to. So apologies, I'm just trying to put this on the keys there. What are
we showing, though, by doing this? So you're going to do a Dr. Pepper just to show how it's going to raise your blood glucose very quickly.
Which we know is going to do. So maybe should we do the erythritol then, see if that has any impact?
Yeah, I'd rather that actually. We'll see what happens there. Now, I don't know if you can hear me, Rich, but there were a few other questions before you logged in. So I'm just going to quickly show, or comments, I should say. It would be awesome if you could do a podcast with Judy Cho. Yeah, she is amazing. And that's somebody that I haven't had on. I don't know if Rich has had on his website or on his YouTube podcast, I should say. So yes, we're doing this 24-hour live stream. It might be something she'd be interested in. But the best thing is to contact that influencer yourself, because we do contact everybody to see if they're interested. We're going through the list of people that we think might want to come on. But if other people, consumers, viewers, whatever you want to say, other carnivores, speak to the influencers direct and say, hey, have you heard about this 24-hour live stream? Be great if you could go on. The more they hear that, the more likely we're going to get some really, really fantastic guests on. And we have got some great guests lined up already. Anthony Chafee is kicking us off, which is really good. We've got so many other people coming up, but not Judy. So yeah, it'd be great if we could have Judy. That would be really good. What are your thoughts on the recent 3 days of Sardine's fast trend in the carnivore and ketogenic diet space? I think we spoke about that last week, and I think we were pretty much on the same wavelength, that for some people it seems to have given them a little bit of a kickstart if they've had a body composition sort of fat loss stall, and it's put them back on track. But for other people, it's not really helped. Actually, it's messed up their hunger signals and their satiety signals. So yeah, the jury's out on that. But I think the majority of people actually liked doing it and got some good results actually. So about 80% of the people that I've dealt with tried it. Of those that tried it, not everybody I know tried it, and about 80% got good results from it, and some people didn't at all. So that was Rich. He's just gone off. I don't know if he heard me waffling on, but anyway, so I've answered that. Have you got any thoughts on the 3-day sardine fast trend?
To be honest, it's the first I've heard of a 3-day sardine fast trend.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, first I've heard it. Sardines, good source of omega-3s again. Really good for anti-inflammatory purposes. Brilliant for blocking cholecystokinin, which prevents hunger, satiety signaling. I'm not against eating sardines. Really good amino profile. Might get a bit boring, I think, but no opinion really. I wouldn't know whether that would be a positive. Certainly, if you were consuming sardines, it's only a good thing, isn't it? But to consume maybe only that, unsure. Yeah. First I've heard of the sardine fast, to be honest, but that's a new one on me. But I've been searching the hotel room for this erythritol. My wife and my little girl have left the room, and it must be in her handbag because I can't find it.
No worries.
So this is on for 14 days, so we can run this. We will run this test next week.
Okay.
But I do have some interesting information from it. So the reason I put it on prior to this weekend is that I'm away in Kempton. This morning I ran a 10K, my third 10K race, with the idea of trying to break my 40-minute barrier. I'm unsure as to the accurate distance of this 10K. So it's labeled as 10K. But when I came to the end of the race, the flags at the end, they went, so the distances, it was a 5K, a 10K, half marathon and a marathon. And what it said at the end is 1 lap was 3.3, 2 laps was 6.6. Now 10K is 6.2. So I have a funny feeling that I've ran a little bit further. I think the distance was 11K. So I'm actually unsure if I've actually achieved that sub 40 10K time. But besides that, what I did is I took a reading prior to running, and my blood glucose was 4.8. Now, a human body without consuming carbohydrate is meant to be unable to sustain high intensity effort for any prolonged period of time, because we do not consume carbohydrates. Therefore, our muscles are depleted of glycogen. And what I found at the end of the run, and I'll take a screenshot of this and share it, and maybe we can show it in the next one, is that my blood glucose went something like 10.9, and my heart rate was running at 89% of VO2 max for the 40 minutes. Now, that's meant to be impossible according to traditional literature, but my body created this glucose. It had the ability to create glucose and supply glycogen to my muscles despite zero carbohydrate intake, which is proof positive to me that the body has this ability to send the lactate from the muscle to the liver, which was the theory all along, and it's been proven with other studies. The lactate buildup in the legs or the muscles is sent to the liver converts into glycogen and sends it back to the muscle where it's required for this higher intensity exercise. Now, this was higher intensity exercise for me because I was running at 89% of VO2 max for 40 minutes. I'm not an elite athlete by any means, but yeah, it was very interesting to see such a high rise in glucose. So what are your thoughts on that then, Stephen? Does that fall into the literature that you've understood it to be, or is that come as a shock to you?
Well, I'd have to sit and go through the notes a bit more, actually. I mean, when you exercise, your blood glucose goes up. I mean, that's pretty common. I was actually dealing with a private message I got there, so yeah, I'd have to write it all down and give you a better answer. But so what would you say? I mean, was it a big surprise for you?
Yeah, because I mean, typically at that sort of intensity for that prolonged period, you'd expect the body to be exhausted of glucose, and this is why these athletes that run long distances and do duathlons and try. So this is why people carb up before an event, isn't it? To fill the muscle glycogen. And this is why people take energy gels when they're doing triathlons, is to keep the glucose, because glucose drops during this high intensity of a prolonged period. But mine increased massively. It doubled, over doubled. So yeah, I wasn't expecting, to be honest, I was half expecting to see a dip. And the reason I say that is that I did a short bike effort recently, an easier bike effort for 40 minutes, I think it was. And blood glucose did drop. It went from 4.5 or 4 point something down to 3 point something. So I was expecting to see a big drop over that distance. And that's what the literature would tell us. But yeah, I was really pleased with that, to be honest, because it just goes to show that you don't need carbohydrates in order to create glucose or to fill the muscles with glycogen. The body will do it itself. Again, I'm not a brilliant runner, but I managed to run, whether it was 10 or 11K in 40 minutes. And I came sixth out of in the entire event. Now, the winner was a few minutes ahead of that. I think the winner came in at like 34 minutes. Yeah, I'm considerably.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Your firstly, your stores of glycogen were probably pretty good before you started, and then when you start to do your activity, your liver is going to produce glucose from non-carbohydrate substrate because you don't ingest carbohydrates, and also your demand for glucose globally is going up anyway because of your exercise. So your gluconeogenesis is going to be ramped up, isn't it? So I'm not overly surprised, to be honest, that it went up. I'd also like to see what was happening in the background with the ketones as well, to see how the energy balance was happening between glucose and ketones. But this is one of the things that goes against my training when I was, when I was doing the personal training on a very regular basis. I don't do it so much now. And that was the advice to give somebody that had low blood sugar fast-acting carbohydrates, when actually getting them to drop and do very intense press-ups or some very intense exercise, if they weren't being particularly intense, would push the blood glucose up as well. But that wasn't the duty of care, so we wouldn't do that. But that definitely works, and working for me as well. I found that, because obviously I was interested to see if that really did happen. And then there was a couple of clients that wanted to test that theory as well. And when they agreed, well, it is a test, but we've still got the fast acting carbohydrates in case it doesn't work. It never failed. That extra effort put their blood glucose up. And you have other factors, don't you, like your insulin sensitivity. So when you said in one of your examples, the blood glucose went down. So how was you feeling? Was you feeling lightheaded and dizzy, or was you feeling capable? Because it could have gone down because your insulin sensitivity is really on point. And I did have one athlete that literally, I hate literally, I shouldn't say that, but yeah, she basically was hypoglycemic technically, but actually wasn't, was able to do loads of activity. So I think blood glucose levels are a really good yardstick and are a great biohack, and things like wearing the continual glucose monitor is interesting. But the body is so clever at making sure we've got enough of what we require. It doesn't surprise me. See, the thing is, it didn't surprise me what you said.
Yeah.
Because I think you could do that experiment basically, within a couple of days of each other, and have different levels and have different outcomes depending on what state your body's in. And glycogen, your replenishment of glycogen might be huge. I mean, just don't know, because you're so well trained. Your intensity, I know I can't remember what percentage of VO2 max you said, so you gave me a lot of details there very quickly.
89%.
I mean, yes, you could still have a lot more capacity. I know it's saying that, but I just feel it's very, very unusual to get someone to go to absolute failure. And I will tell you, I have been to absolute failure, and there is a big difference between when you think you're near failure and actually failing. And I failed to the point of collapsing and having the St. John's ambulance men round me, being and wired up to an ECG. And there was two moments. You probably don't know this about me, but when the Gladiators TV program first came to the UK, I was going to be one of the first contestants on there, and I tried out, and I was going to be on the show. And the last round of qualifiers to make sure you got on the show was on a treadmill, and I had to run 800 meters in a particular time. Now, I was the 800 meter school record holder at one point, so I thought, I can easily do this. But when I did the 800 meters at school, I hadn't done a whole day in a TV rehearsal studio doing all these other activities. So I went hell for leather, thinking I'm definitely going to get on the show. I'm going to go absolutely above and beyond. And twice I stopped. Twice I pulled up and said, I'm done. I can't do it. And then the stupid competitive side of me went again, tried to go a bit further because I'm still well within the time. And again, I've sort of failed. And then the third time I went, I actually just collapsed and hyperventilated, super sweating, and, wrapped up in tin foil to stop me from basically, losing too much body heat. And the St. John's ambulance people were saying, wow, this is terrible. And I had to be hooked up to an ECG. Now, I guarantee the first two times, most people would have stopped. So I think we have a little bit more capacity than our brain tells us. And I know Tim Noakes talks about this central governor system, where he believes that everything shuts down, or it's one of his theories that everything shuts down to stop the brain not getting the supply of glucose that it needs. So it ramps up the glucose production to ensure that you don't get that low level of glucose get into the brain, which makes a lot of sense to me. And actually, I've spoken to a few people about this, and I think there's that is part of what happens. I think the brain does protect itself from not having enough energy. I think that's definitely part of it. But anyway, yeah, to answer your question, it doesn't surprise me. But I also think you could run that in very similar circumstances and one day have quite high glucose and another day have low. And I think it would be interesting to get the ketones in there, measure the lactate, do biopsies and see what actually is going on. But I think the glycogen stores, the reason people carb up to bump them up, when they do study that and they do experiments, and again going on to biopsies, the amount of replenishment of glycogen seems to surprise the researchers just how quick it is. So I can't remember off the top of my head, and I wish I could get the study, because I think you'd be really interested, that they looked at athletes and how quickly they replenish glycogen after the race. And it was incredibly quick, to the point where they just didn't actually trust the results.
Yep.
So, yeah, sorry, that was a long answer to your thing now. Are you all right to answer a couple of questions that people have set?
Fire away.
Yeah, because this one is actually for you. It's Matthew again, but he was very good. He got in quick and put some questions up. So, has Richard thought about making an unflavored electrolyte powder and an unflavored pre-workout supplement? The ingredients are clean, but I find stevia or any sweet flavor too addictive. Yes,
is the answer to your question. And I am working on one that is, the problem with unflavored electrolytes is that it's basically salts, which is not very appetizing. So I'm working on a formula with glycine. Glycine is a sweet amino acid, only subtly, and glycine carries an abundant amount of health benefits. And I believe that it is not one that's going to be addictive. I'm trying to remove, the likes of stevia from product, specifically tailored for the carnivore market. Now, the electrolytes that I'm using does contain stevia. Now, I'm what I'd regard as, an incredibly strict carnivore, but I also acknowledge the benefit of the electrolytes, particularly from the molybdenum, selenium, and astaxanthin that I put in. So, I formulated this probably 3 or 4 years ago, well before I gravitated into understanding the benefits of going deeper down the rabbit hole on the carnivore journey. And stevia was always deemed to be, a healthy natural sweetener, as erythritol was. I've seen a few studies since which cast a little bit of question over that. There's obviously you'll obviously find a study for everything, but I'm in pursuit for the perfect product for optimal health. So I'll continue with these because these are fantastic for people coming in from the low carb, ketogenic, and it is, as you say, as Matthew says, these are the cleanest ingredients probably on the market, bar one that doesn't contain any flavor. But I am working on an unflavored, and the pre-workout, we are also doing the same, and that should be an easy fix because the citrulline malate is sweet naturally. So we're working on a flavor, a version where we're removing the stevia from that as well. Now, I used to make these myself in the kitchen from pots of all of these different formulas, and I never added stevia because the citrulline malate was always sweet enough. But when I put it out to other users, they didn't find it sweet enough. These people coming from the standard market are they're addicted to sugar. They're looking, they've got all these fancy flavors. Blueberry something or other, and all these fancy names that are, multitude of different flavors, and they're all full of nasties and synthetics. And I think there's a big, massive education piece in regards to educating these, because some of these people I know will buy a product purely on flavor. Now, as strict as our circle is, you'd be surprised how many people are still based on flavor. So the protein that we do, for example, I've had complaints recently because I've made that less sweet. And it's, I find it sweet enough. If you've been living a keto carnivore lifestyle, you don't need it to be sweet. So we're trying to accommodate people coming into the low carb market as well as the ketogenic market, and these people who are highly sensitive now to sweet things and don't require. So when I gravitated into keto, broccoli began to taste sweet to me, whereas before it was, absolutely disgusting. But I could taste the sweetness in broccoli when I gravitated into keto. I don't eat broccoli anymore, obviously, but I remember that period where my senses were heightened because I'd come away from all of these type of beverages and things that contain a lot of crap. But yes is the short answer to the question. I am working on both of those and across the board with everything. So we're changing the bars that we do. We're changing to glycerol, which is a sweet fat. So it's a fat that is sweet. So we're removing the stevia and erythritol from that. The collagen, we're going to be doing the same. Hopefully with the glycine, if not the citrulline malate. But yeah, everything across the board is going to be sweetener from. Good.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And that's one of the things I was wondering, actually. I was going to ask you that myself personally. So that was nice that somebody had that same question. We've got KH there saying, thanks for a live about diets. On the Lion diet, got psoriasis. Been on this diet for 38 days, but seen nothing yet. And I would say I've done ever such a lot with people with psoriasis. And I would say it can take a long time. It can take months. Off the top of my head, the last person it took, because it's a nice round number and easy to stick in my head, they didn't see anything for 60 days. Then they started to see a slight difference. One of the things I would recommend is taking really clear photographs of any marks or scarring or whatever you've got, and doing that again every 20 days, because you might think, or it's not really changing, and actually there is tiny changes going on in the background. But I think so. One of the things, like I say, 60 days. I think it was much longer. The Steak and Butter Gang said Bella, she had problems. I think it took her 6 months to get her skin to be resolved. So 38 days. Yeah. The problem is, when someone has a magical result really quickly, it gets a lot of traction on the internet, and it will be on Instagram and it will be everywhere, or Facebook or whatever. And you think that's the norm. It's a magic wand. And that can happen. That can really be the truth. It can be very, very quick. I had somebody off all their diabetic medications within 7 weeks, which was amazing actually to see. But more often than not, it's a little bit longer. But because so many people get so much attention when it's really quick, you do tend to be a bit disappointed when the results for yourself aren't really quick. But I'm very confident, very, very confident that you'll have benefits from this way of eating with your skin. I saw you log out there, Richard, and back in. Are you okay? Did you want to add a little bit about psoriasis?
It's sorry, Stephen. I don't know if you noticed that my signal is dipping out.
Yes.
I think I've missed about the last 3 or 4 minutes there. But I did catch the bit about psoriasis not working after 38 days. Yeah. The signal is awful. This end, you're sounding like a Dalek. So I can only hear every other word. But coming back to what I did catch, if you can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Always good. Snap. So anyone I've worked with psoriasis and things seems to take a long time. The body needs to heal. I have seen it repair and recover and see improvements in as little as 2 weeks. But yeah, it's not uncommon for 60 plus days. So stick with it. But what I'd be careful of is just ensure that you're not cooking with anything that you shouldn't be, and maybe that the meat that you're using, the beef you're using is quality from a local butcher. I don't trust supermarket meats. That's not to say that there is anything wrong with them, but I think you're always on a winner if you go to a grass-fed butcher. The butcher I use doesn't inject with any antibiotics or any nasties. Grass-fed, grass-finished. I can't guarantee the same for a supermarket. And I'm in Shepperton, just outside Kempton. So we went for food last night in the hotel, and I was devastated because I ordered a steak, cooked rare with no veg, but with fried eggs. And after waiting for about an hour and a half, service was slow. The waiter came back and he said that apologies, but the steak has been soaked in vegetable oil overnight, because I told them that I had an allergy to vegetable oil. So rather than saying I'm just, I don't want to explain that I'm keto or carnivore and spend an hour trying to explain. So I'm allergic to vegetable oil, and then they take note. But they soaked this steak in vegetable oil overnight, so I couldn't have it. I had to go for fish in the end, which is fine. But the fish was like a quarter of the size of the steak, and yeah, I was still hungry after, because I still like to eat. But it's just those things, you need to watch if you're eating out, and prep food in the house as best as you can, and try to cook in natural fats like butter, tallow, lard, or ghee, or use the fat from the meat itself. But certainly, 38 days isn't an awful long time. I'd be inclined to advise that you stick to it a little bit longer. And I mean, going, on the lion diet now, we're talking just beef. There anything else that they may be putting in? So some people who have told me that they're on the lion diet and they put in eggs in. Eggs are usually fantastic. They're a fantastic source of amino acids and vitamins and minerals, but they do contain certain proteins that can cause issues within the body. So some people tend to be or can be allergic to eggs. So even from a carnivore perspective, there are typically 5 or 6 foods that we consume on a carnivore-based diet, and 2 to 3 of those could cause an issue. A2 milk could be one. Seafood. We've got eggs is another one. What else is there, Stephen? What am I missing? Dairy in general, isn't it? Like yogurts and cheese. Shellfish. And I know I said seafood, but for some reason they categorize those as 2 different things. And generally, even people living a carnivore lifestyle can still suffer from 2 or 3 allergies within that. And even though living carnivore is fantastic, that some people can still be allergic to that. And we can measure that with oh my goodness, I can't remember the white blood cells, the eosinophils. If we remove these, we can see which foods in particular are elevating that level of white blood cell. So there's a way that we can check with a doctor or private blood test that way as well. But yeah, I'd be inclined to see whether or not there are eggs or anything else going in there that. But certainly stick to it. It's I've never known anyone who hasn't massively improved, if not completely reversed, everything that they came onto the diet for.
Yeah, and even eggs, when we talk about eggs, can even be egg whites or egg yolks, so you could even narrow it down that much. Just want to say afternoon to the fat addict, which is Adam, isn't it? So one of your people. Let's go on to the next question. Right, here we go. We've got... John Price. How would you increase low stomach acid to reduce bloated gut and to improve digestion? Which is a very common question, I think.
So grains seem to cause more stomach issues than anything else, and it's to do with the lectins, which bind to mast cells and cause the release of histamine. But that's generally to do with excess acid within the body. But I don't find it to be much of an issue. It's not a problem I've ever come across when going into carnivore. Is this something that you've experienced, Stephen? Is it a problem? Low stomach acid, is that an issue you've ever come across?
Not really, to be honest. But it is something that I've been aware of, that some people seem to get benefit from apple cider vinegar. They seem to feel that their digestion improves. I think what happens is, one of the common things that I talk about is is when you come over to carnivore, maybe your stomach acid is a little bit on the not acidic enough, basically. And once you start eating this way, I always explain that food isn't passive. It doesn't go straight into your stomach and just sit there and the body just acts on it without any signals coming back. So when the amino acids start getting broken down, they are actually talking to the body. And so any food that goes in there is communicating, but as they break down with the compounds that they release. So proteins, amino acids, especially taurine, for instance, tells the stomach to produce stomach acid and to produce bile, actually. So when you start eating this way, the stomach acid tends to resolve itself because you're eating the food that is demanding good acidic levels in your stomach. So it does tend to resolve itself, but there are some people that feel they need apple cider vinegar or they need to do this, that, or the other. Obviously, come off the antacids. Don't do anything like that, and your stomach acid will resolve itself eating this way, which is exactly what happens. Exactly what happens. So yeah, I would just keep eating this way. If you're finding it difficult to digest it at first, finding the fat difficult, you could have smaller meals with a little bit more frequency. Just let your body catch up. One of the things, and I think what I like about Richard is he talks about supplements and he's very honest about it. Any supplement is exceeding your body's capacity at the moment. So if you are producing X amount of bile and you stuff in more fat than you can cope with, and you take ox bile, for instance, to help, yes, that's going to work in a roundabout way, but actually you are saying to your body, I'm going to exceed your capacity. Whereas it's better if you can dial back on wanting to eat so much of this in smaller meals, maybe, for instance, because some influencer has said, eat 1 meal a day, but make, a big feast of it. And you can't cope with that. It's better to not be eating that 1 meal a day that your body can't cope with and supplementing to make it cope with it. It's better to say, well, let's be realistic. Maybe let's do 3 smaller meals with the same volume of food, but spread over 3 meals. So therefore my bile production, my digestive enzymes, my stomach acid, everything can cope. And then as you adapt and basically that's the thing we talk about, adapting. Once you're fat adapted, once your stomach acid is where it needs to be, once you've got off the processed foods and seed oils, you can then start to eat bigger meals because your body will be able to cope. But I understand why people do supplements, and that's one of the reasons. And that's a nice segue into the next thing. Viridian digestive enzymes. That's what Matthew thinks helps him. What have you got opinions on that, Richard?
I'm just trying to read in there now because it's so small on my phone and I can barely hear. I can only hear every other word.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yes, they actually have proteases and lipases, amylases, and lactase. They have a lot of things in there. So yes, that can help people. So we'll move on. Let's have a look. People say that you need carbs. They're uneducated. Yep, that's right. That's true. Right. So let's have a look. I'm trying to find the next question. Oh, here we go. This is an interesting one. Sorry, you can't hear me. Even Dorian Yates has a pre-workout which has maltodextrin in. So.
Yes, I think maltodextrin causes. I think it's higher on the glycemic index, isn't it, than sugar? From what I can remember, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of these so-called nutritionists and pro athletes and things that they think that certain foods and supplements are good, but yeah, they are not. I mean, they're not trained in nutrition. Although, having said that, most nutritionists I know are poor. I think my little girl, my 8-year-old daughter, probably knows more about nutrition than most dietitians within the NHS. But no, maltodextrin is not a good thing. Anything with maltodextrin should not be consumed.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm feeling your pain actually, Richard. So you can't hear me very well, and you can't eat, and you can't read the questions because you're on the phone. Can you talk from the heart? Because I've got something. Do you want to talk a little bit about our 24-hour live stream that's coming up?
For sure. Yeah, go for it.
Well, What's your views on it? We're doing it together, and it's the Sunday, the 9th of July, 8 a.m. UK start. It's 24 hours. But I was waffling on about it when you were logging on. I didn't know if you wanted to just add a little bit of information.
Yeah. So first of all, Stephen, kind enough to invite me to partner you with this, and it's something that I am super, super excited about. I don't believe it's ever been done before. 24 hours is an incredibly long time, and I never thought that I'd be looking forward to sitting down for such a long time. The list of speakers is absolutely incredible. We've got world experts, world leading experts coming on to share their wealth of knowledge. Obviously, myself and Stephen included. That's why everybody's tuning in, really, isn't it? Nothing to do with Anthony Chafee and everyone else we got coming on. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. We're going to be broadcasting for a full 24 hours. Stephen and I are going to be sharing our thoughts, our experience, and we are going to invite the likes of Dr. Anthony Chafee and Bart Kay, amongst a whole host of others who are coming on from all aspects of low carb, or keto and carnivore predominantly. Lisa Tamati, a friend of mine from New Zealand and an award-winning author who helped her mother reverse terminal cancer. So that's absolutely incredible. We've got people coming on about athletic performance. There's Sean Sakonovsky, who's a pro endurance cyclist and carnivore. He is coming on to talk about his story and his amazing achievements at riding stupid amounts of miles on nothing other than electrolytes or salt and water. As I say, we've got Anthony Chafee, who's a wealth of knowledge, and many others that are coming on to talk about the medical side, the benefits. I'm super, super excited, and I can't wait. I think that we're going to be inundated, Stephen, with these influencers who will want to come on board, especially when we begin to start pushing this out there. I know Ben Azadi wanted to come on board, but he is unavailable at that time. So I have reached out to Ben to see if he can pre-record something with us, so we can at least play that. I know technically that's not live, but Ben is absolutely fantastic as well. But yeah, I'm super, super excited. As I say, I've never been looking forward to sitting down for so long.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. You've just said there it's not live, but the interaction will be live. So if Ben, for instance, is able to do, let's say, a 15-minute interview with us, we can take questions, and we can field the questions from the people that are watching the live stream, and then we can go back to Ben and say, these are the questions from your 15-minute segment. Did you want to add some stuff as well? So, I mean, that would tick enough boxes for me, because I'd rather have someone who can't make that date pre-record something but still be amenable to answering some of the questions that come up. And I think it will be really interesting, because when we do these very short live streams, and we don't really promote them very much, we get a fair few questions and a fair few views. But I think we will promote the 24-hour live stream a little bit more than we do these weekly sort of casual live streams. And Anthony Chafee, I want to big up everybody that has agreed to do this, because there's no money involved in this. Everyone's doing it because they just want to get the message out there and answer your questions, and make you feel better about the way you're living your life as a carnivore, or how to start it, those sort of things. But someone like Anthony Chafee, he's stumped up 3 hours of his time to help us with a kickoff. So that is absolutely amazing, going above and beyond the Call of Duty, I think, which is really good. So the influencers that you're looking at, they really do care about what's going on. They have the knowledge, they want to share it. And one of the things I find with people that start the carnivore diet, people that I'm coaching or people that I meet online, it's so good. They want to tell everyone about it. And I say, well, just don't become the vegan version of the carnivore diet, where you just talk about it straight away. Just let people ask you about it. It is amazing. You do get great results, but don't be that person that immediately walks into a room and says, hey, guess what? I'm a carnivore. Do you want to know all about it? Let them come to you. And I think that's one of the things that all the influencers all pretty much say. Just be the example. You don't need to ram it down people's throats how good it is, even if you want to tell everybody. I mean, Sarah, who works in Richard's shop, 91 pounds, of fat lost, reversing type 2 diabetes, going from unfit to running marathons. And running marathons fasted, by the way, for people that asked when she did the interview. Well, of course, you'd want to tell everybody about that, but you have to wait for them to come to you. That's the thing I was going to say. So the idea of the 24-hour live stream is if you can drop in and out, if you've got questions, things that have happened to you in social situations that you don't know how to cope with, friends or family that are telling you that you have to eat veg, you have to eat fruit, this is crazy, it's going to kill you, all those sort of things. We will cover every single topic. We're going to look at eye health, we're going to talk about mental health, we're going to talk about fatigue, anxiety, weight loss, muscle gain, being underweight as well. We'll talk about that, diabetes, type 1, type 2, everything. So we're going to try and cover absolutely everything. LDL, heart conditions, kidneys, blood tests, everything. So 24 hours. So you haven't got an excuse for not turning up. You should be able to find 30 minutes to watch and ask your question. And I promise you, we will try to answer absolutely every question in the live stream. But yeah, great guests, by the way, Richard, that you've managed to get.
I don't think that as a society, we are going to get an opportunity to ask questions to these people on a daily basis. I mean, you may have tried messaging some of these world leading experts, and they get bombarded by messages. A lot of them don't even deal with their own social media. So when you message them, it's quite often that they don't reply. And I don't think that it's done on purpose. I just genuinely think that they're incredibly busy or they don't deal with their social media. This is a perfect opportunity to join, come on to the live for as little time as you want, to listen to your desired speaker, the person that you have been following, the person that you've always wanted to ask a question to. And this is a perfect opportunity to ask your question and get it answered by the person that you want it answered by. And these, as I say, I keep repeating it, are world-leading experts. These are doctors and world-renowned nutritionists who have studied the effect of plant toxins and the benefit of beta-hydroxybutyrate for 20 years, some of them. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Do not miss this opportunity to sign up, join into the live. It's absolutely free. What else have you got? What else have you got to do? I can't imagine wanting to do anything else than coming on and speaking to these people. I am absolutely buzzing. I cannot wait for July the 8th. Super excited.
July the 9th.
9th, sorry, yeah. Yeah. See, that's how excited I am. I wanted to come sooner. So.
Right. Well, Richard, don't worry. You could probably do 48 hours on your own, mate.
Yeah.
You've made me worry that actually that isn't the date, but it is July the 9th, isn't it?
July the 9th, yeah. Okay.
It is July the 9th, yes. Right.
It's the Sunday, isn't it? Yeah.
It's Sunday. Right. Brilliant. Okay. Right. Well, we'll call that a day because we've done our 55 minutes and I hope everyone's really enjoyed it. Is there any parting things you want to say, Richard?
Yeah, just a quick shout out to Adam who gave us the afternoon gentleman earlier. I haven't spoken to Adam for a little while, but he's been on your show. He's a client of mine. He's made some tremendous progress. He's up to currently 12 stone in weight loss. Absolutely smashing it, and he is the perfect example of what the diet and lifestyle can do. So much respect for Adam. He is one of these people that came to me and I didn't believe that he was going to stick to it. You usually get an idea when somebody comes to you. And I just thought that he was another one of these, because we get so many people begin the journey and it is restrictive initially. I don't find it restrictive because I love the food that I eat. But many do because of carb addiction. But Adam is pushing forward, and even more so, he has begun his own Instagram page under the Fat Addict, and he is helping others coaching. He does a lot of coaching for free. He puts a lot of information out there, and this is exactly what our community is about. It's about throwing that pebble into the water and watching these ripples, this ripple effect ripple out. And Adam is a perfect example of that. So yeah, nice to yeah, thanks for the shout out, and we'll have to catch up soon. I think last time you popped into the shop, I wasn't available, but perfect example of what the lifestyle can do, and yeah, and the benefits for paying it forward, as it were, isn't it? Adam, I've benefited. You know, I've worked with Adam. Adam's benefited, and now he's paying that forward. And I think if we all continue to do this, I know you said, you don't like to throw it in people's face about the lifestyle. Sometimes I almost feel obligated. I almost feel that when I listen to someone who has a health issue or a problem, I almost feel it's my duty to part some words of wisdom. It doesn't always go down too well. I don't throw it down people's throats, at least I don't think I do. But it is difficult when you speak to someone who is suffering with a health condition, and you know what is causing it and what can help, and you just see them persevering and go traveling down this path of incorrect information because their doctor told them that eating sugar is perfectly fine. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my that's my 2 penner. That's my rant.
Well, yeah, that's great, Rich. Thank you. Yes, and I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to check out the Keto Pro, the Instagram there, and Richard's YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you can, because that helps both of us to get our content out there. So anyway, thanks for everybody that's tuned in, and we will see you next Sunday.
Yes, thank you all.